Hello, people. Happy Friday. It's Chris. It's live chat time. Amazingly, hold on. I'm just getting things set up. Okay. Amazingly, I'm coming on a little early for two reasons. One, I have to take my kids to the eye doctor. So I can't do 1 to 2 because they have an appointment at 1:45. 2, because Marjorie Taylor Greene just did something remarkable. You know Marjorie Taylor Greene, Georgia, Republican, House Freedom Caucus. She just filed a resolution in the House to vacate the speakership. Now, that is a thing that we know can work. Remember, that's why Kevin McCarthy isn't speaker anymore and Mike Johnson is. McCarthy agreed, as part of a deal to try to get people to vote for him for speaker, McCarthy agreed that any single member could bring up a motion to vacate. And McCarthy eventually got kicked out for that. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's the big news. Marjorie Taylor Greene has filed a motion to vacate Mike Johnson as speaker. Now, little nerdery here. The question is it just a regular resolution or is that a privileged resolution? Now, this is sort of weird, but if it's a regular resolution, the House Republican majority can just refer it to committee and never pay attention to it again. If it's a privileged resolution, they have to take it up within 2 legislative days. Now, it's not clear, at least to me yet, that it's a privileged resolution. Greene could make it one, maybe when Congress comes back. They're going on a 2-week break for Easter, but she hasn't yet. So is this performance by Greene? Is it her actually starting the gears of trying to get rid of Mike Johnson? Not sure, but here's what I'll say. I think there's a decent chance, not guaranteed, but decent chance that if Greene does do the motion to vacate, that Mike Johnson, after 5 months could be out. And if he's out, that I don't know who would be in. Remember, we went through this process before. A bunch of people wound up trying to be the replacement for McCarthy and didn't work for any of them. So, who the hell knows is the short answer. So anyway, long preamble to say, welcome to our Friday live stream. I took part of this week off. We went to the Greenbrier in West Virginia with my family, a resort. It was awesome. I wrote about it in my Substack. I'll put a link to my Substack so that you guys can check it out. I'll put it in the chat. Actually, let me do that. Hold on, let me do that. Here is a link to my Substack. To subscribe. Chris spelled my name wrong. Let me make sure that's right. I probably should have done this before. Sorry. I know watching me type is not the most exciting thing. Did that work? Okay, yeah, I think that worked. So this is my Friday live stream. I am always excited to do this. Thank you. I think I'm trying to build some momentum behind it. If we try to do it every Friday at about the same time, again, if you didn't sign on, the reason we're not doing it at the same time is because I have to take my kids to the eye doctor. They inherited my great eyesight. They had glasses since I was like 12. Okay, so here's what I would say. If you have questions, bring them on. Right? Like, I would love to answer your questions. So if you have questions, throw them in the chat. Let me just go through what we got. Okay, let's start with this. How do I think Donald Trump will try to raise the $464 million by Monday? Okay, so here's what we're talking about. Donald Trump owes the state of New York $464 million in legal penalties for decades worth of inflating the value of his assets to secure better loan conditions from banks. The New York Times and several other places, but definitely the New York Times reported this week that Trump and his lawyers have gone to a bunch of bond companies who sort of front money and has been turned down. He does not have, as best as I can tell, he does not have $464 million in cash. He may have 400-ish million in cash. That's what he claims. I think Forbes said he might have 420 million, but he doesn't, as he's told the lawyer, the judge in the case, he doesn't have $464 million. So what could he do? Well, he could declare personal bankruptcy. He's done it before, but he's not going to do that. And the reason, at least I don't think he's going to do that. And the reason I don't think he's going to do it is because it would look bad to declare bankruptcy when you're the president running for president and your whole thing is I'm a great businessman, right? So I think he does not want that because he's worried about the impact on the campaign. But that would be the easiest way out, right? It would greatly extend the calendar for when he owes money and when he has to pay. He could sell off an asset. So he could go and try to sell something, probably real estate. That's where most of his holdings are, to try to make the bond. Or, and this is a possibility, if he doesn't do any of those things, Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York and a Democrat, could seize one of Trump's properties to stand up for the $464 million. You know, the other thing that is happening is Truth Social, the company that Trump started, the social media company, is about to go public. That should help Trump. That should raise him $3-ish billion. So he will have the money to pay, but he doesn't have the money to pay right now. It's a very interesting conundrum. So yeah, look, his smartest thing to do would be to declare bankruptcy. He won't declare bankruptcy. So what do you do after that? Who knows? Okay, let me keep going. Sean D. I always look forward to these live streams each week. It's great to have a community of fellow politics nerds. Thanks for doing this. I'm happy to do it. I totally agree. It's awesome to have this group. Canadian citizen number 273, not number 272, number 273. Donald Trump has a lot of properties. The issue of mortgages, stakes in the properties affects how much he can actually pay for a civil penalty. Do you think he actually has enough money? I don't. No, I actually think he does not have enough money, cash right now. I don't think he does. If he did, he would probably pay it. You know, he paid $90 million in bonds for the E. Jean Carroll defamation case that he owed. But so that's 90 million. And then he owes another 464 million. He just doesn't have the cash. If he did, I think he'd pay it. I think he doesn't want to sell his properties because he feels like he would be selling under duress. And obviously that's not the best time to get the best price for these things. So who knows? Okay. Tara Reid. Not that Tara Reid. Do you have a favorite lunch spot around CNN headquarters in DC? I work at the Department of Education right next to CNN on First Street, and I'm always curious where CNN employees eat. Well, number one, I am not a CNN employee anymore. I don't know if you missed that news, but they laid me off in November 2022. That's why I'm doing all this stuff. Subscribe to my Substack. Another thing, quickly, before I get to my food recommendations. I just this week started a sports only Substack. It's called The Replay. I write about sports through a historical lens. So today I did a history of presidents picking NCAA tournament brackets. Yesterday I did the 5 best buzzer beaters in the history of the NCAA men's tournament. Let me put a link to that too. Hold on. That is, oh dear. Got to remember, it's new, so I don't necessarily know all the that is The Replay. It's called The Replay, by the way, if you're wondering. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Most of the content here is free. There we go. And if people are still wanting to subscribe, I'll put this in there too. If you want to subscribe. So that's my sports one. And if you want to subscribe to my politics one, there's that. Okay, where to eat? It's dire. There's not many places. I would walk up to like 8th Street Northeast. It's a little bit better. I know this is very local. Union Station is a disaster now. If you've not been there, there's no food open. It is not a good scene. So there's not a lot of good food around there. I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay. By the way, just a quick here. We've got people from Europe, people from Canada, people from Munich. Welcome. Oh, Arizona, Munich and Arizona, Munich, Arizona. Okay, let me keep going through questions. Could Donald Trump be Speaker of the House while running for president? I mean, I think technically yes. I always remind people this has never happened. I don't think it ever will happen. But technically you do not have to be a member of Congress to be Speaker of the House. Anyone can do it. So Trump has gotten a few votes before. If Johnson was forced out, could Trump be Speaker? I don't think he would be, because it's a terrible job. They have a 2-seat majority. You can't really get anything done. I think he'd be distracted. So I think technically he could, but in point of fact, there's no way that he would do it. I hope that makes sense. Here's a question. Tell me who a Trump 16, Trump 20, Biden 24 voter is, and how many of these are there out there? Okay, so voted for Trump in 16, voted for Trump in 20, voting for Biden in 2024. I don't think there are all that many of those out there. What would that voter look like? Probably voted for Trump as sort of an outsider, didn't like Hillary in 2016. Hello, thumbs up. Voted for Trump in 2020 because despite all of the chaos, thought that Trump did a good job with the economy, and will vote for Biden in 2024 because the contesting of the election, the January 6th riot, and the 4 indictments and 91 criminal counts is like a bridge too far. I think that's what it looks like. Like, they were okay with the Trump presidency, but the end of the Trump presidency, the way it ended January 6th, and then everything that's come after that in terms of his indictments and all that sort of stuff, yeah, I think that's what that looks like, but that's a good question. Nathan Baker says the world needs journalists. True. Yeah, this is a sweatshirt that CNN got all of us like 4 or 5 Christmases ago. I don't wear a lot of CNN stuff anymore because I don't work there anymore, but I really like this sweatshirt. This is a Ray Gun company sweatshirt. So Ray Gun is a company based in Iowa. I think it might be based in Des Moines. I'm not totally sure, but based in Iowa. They make great shirts, sweatshirts, hats, all that kind of thing. Check it out. Ray Gun. Emeritus, do you think Democrats should save or punt on Mike Johnson? Right. So it's important to note here that Republicans only have a 2-seat majority. You need a majority of the vote on the floor to be Speaker of the House. So Johnson could only afford to lose 2 people. Presumably one would be Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is filing a motion to vacate. I think there would be other votes there, 4, 5, 6, 7 House Freedom Caucus members, which would mean Democrats would hold Johnson's fate in their hands. In the past, they all just voted for Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader. No one voted for Kevin McCarthy. No one tried to save Kevin McCarthy. Would they try to save Mike Johnson? I doubt it, to be honest. I think chaos for Republicans is probably Democrats' friend as it relates to this election. And I also don't think Democrats in the House feel particularly charitable as it relates to Republicans and saving them in any way, shape, or form. So I don't think they will save him. Sam says, hey, Chris, hello. Can I ask a Hoya question? Always. When attending Georgetown, did I ever meet Big John Thompson Jr., or attend class, interact with any prominent players? So I have one really good story on that front. I did not ever meet Big John in person, but here's my one good story. I used to play pickup basketball all the time, every single day at Yates Fieldhouse, which is like the gym complex for students, not for the athletes. But after the season, every once in a while, the athletes would come and play pickup. And so one time, Allen Iverson, who was at Georgetown the same time as me, he's the same age as me. I got to stop doing that. Allen Iverson, this guy named Heidi White, who was a big guy, like 6'10", massive, and a couple other players played, and I played against them, and I guarded Allen Iverson. I mean, guarded in the loosest possible term for that word. I think they won 11-1, 11-2. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm doubling the number of points we scored. 11-1 or 11-2. I don't remember if I scored. I don't think I did. But yes, that is my Georgetown story. I once guarded Allen Iverson. Phil Reinhart, did you see the comments on my Rubio VP video saying it's actually legal? Only the Florida electors could vote for that team, but that still leaves a path to the presidency for Trump. Yeah, but why would Trump willingly give up the 27 or 29 or 31 electoral votes from Florida? I don't get that. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, the Florida electors can vote. Well, that's a lot of electoral votes. This is going to be a close election. He's just going to hand off 30 electoral college votes because he really thinks Marco Rubio should be his VP. I don't buy it. I also don't buy this thing that Rubio is going to resign his seat, move to another state, and then somehow then he'll be the pick. Why would Rubio do that? I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Let's see. Space Cadet, thanks for the donation. By the way, folks, if you want to donate, I'd love to have it. I'd love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd really love to have you subscribe to either one of my Substacks. So the political Substack, the link is in the chat. The new is called So What? The new sports only Substack is called The Replay. Link is also in the chat. A lot of the content there is free. Some is paid. It's $5 a month, $50 a year. So it's not a huge amount of money, but I know like times can be tight for people. So I understand if you can't, but look, at the minimum, subscribe to get the free stuff. And at a minimum, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And at a minimum, tell 500 friends about my YouTube channel so that we can spread the word. But thank you for the donation. Let's see. A lot of good questions. Keep coming in. Okay. Well, Randy asked, sorry for the personal question, but why are you no longer with CNN? I very much enjoyed your point of view there. Don't worry about it. It's totally fine. It's not a, I mean, it's a personal question, but I don't mind answering it. In the fall of 2022, CNN announced that because of the merger, it was merging with Warner Media. There are all these changes that they were going to make a bunch of layoffs. They needed to cut costs. They had a huge debt load. Well, I was one of the costs they cut. So in late November of 2022, I was laid off by CNN. Since then, I've built this YouTube channel. I've built my Substack newsletter, which is daily. I'd love for you to go there and subscribe. So that's how I'm sort of making my way in the journalism world of today as a solo content creator. It's been actually really fun. But yeah, don't worry about asking. It's totally fine. Let's see. Hello from Sweden. Hello, Sweden. Yes, a couple people are asking, did I start early because they just signed on because it's 1 o'clock, because that's normally when we do it. Yes. There are two reasons why I started early. If you have been on this call, this stream, sorry to repeat myself, but number one is I wanted to go on and give an initial reaction to Marjorie Taylor Greene filing a motion to vacate Mike Johnson from the speakership, essentially kick him out. More on that in my Substack later today. I'll write a more expansive post on that. And the second thing is I have to take my kids to the eye doctor at 1:45 Eastern. So I wanted to start a little early so that I could do about 45 minutes and not miss my kid's doctor's appointment. Anyway, Jeffrey Mara. Hello, Chris. Appreciate your work. Thank you. Aaron Lucko. Do you think Democrats could install a Republican of their choice to replace Johnson, or would it be impossible to split off the Republican votes? So I think it would be almost impossible to split off the Republican votes, if I'm being honest. Because the speaker of their choice, presumably, I don't know that Democrats have a Republican that they really want to be speaker, other than like maybe Liz Cheney or something, and the Republicans wouldn't go for that. I just think we're in such a partisan moment where we are in a presidential election year. The country is deeply polarized. Like, I don't see why it's in Democrats' interest to help Republicans out of their problems at all. Right? I just don't. I don't see why they would do that. So that would include picking a Republican and helping nominate him or her. I just don't see it happening. Let's see. Yes, Marcy B, did you start early? It is just coming up on 1 p.m. Eastern now. Yes, Marcy, sorry, I started early. I wanted to jump in early. Phil Reinhardt says Sarah Longwell over at the Bulwark has videos of Trump 2016, Trump 20, Biden 2024 voters. It'd be interesting to check out. Again, I think that those voters are sort of January 6th, the 2020 election interference charges were a bridge too far, or the indictments were a bridge too far, like something like that. Like they were with Trump until then, but then it kind of like straw that broke the camel's back. It just went over the edge. Let's see. Josh Irvin. Hi, Chris. I respect your take on the political environment of our country. Thanks, Josh. Should I be concerned that if Trump wins, life in the United States would drastically change for the average person? Okay. I get this question a lot, right? There's some version of it. Excuse me. I don't have my La Croix today, although I should. Um, so I guess I'm a little more sanguine on what happens to the country, even if you uh, assume Trump gets elected. So, do I think Donald Trump likes authoritarians? Yes. Do I think if he could sort of snap his fingers, Thanos style, and become sort of a dictator, would he do it? Yeah, I think he would. Um, do I think he's going to be a dictator if he gets elected again? I do not. And the reason for it is I just think in a 4-year span, I think it's very hard to dismantle the free and independent media, dismantle the checks and balances of Congress. Like, I just think dismantle the 200 plus year history of democracy in America. Like, I think he will do things that will have authoritarian leanings because he has those things. Deport a bunch of people who are in this country, undocumented people in this country. Yes. Try to rid the sort of federal bureaucracy of people who are not loyal to him. Yes. Politicize the Justice Department. Yes. I think he's do all those things. If he wins, I just don't think that's going to lead to like democracy laying in tatters. I still think the media is going to exist. He's eroded already a bunch of trust in it, but I think the media will still continue to exist and report on him and, sort of do its job. I think Congress is likely to be divided control wise, which makes it harder for Trump to do what he wants. I know he appointed a bunch of justices to the Supreme Court. I know that. I know it's a 6-3 conservative majority. I still don't think they're just going to turn over and be like, here you go, carte blanche, do whatever you want. So I guess I'm not as worried about it. I don't think it's not. I think you will notice a big difference between Joe Biden second term and Donald Trump second term. But I don't think we're headed toward a dictatorship. I hope that makes sense. Marine X, totally mishearing you on Cuomo Sirius XM back in the day. Man, that is back in the day. And yeah, I love doing that. Cuomo doesn't do Sirius XM anymore. But yes, I really enjoyed it. Randy T says, you guarded Iverson. Did you end up an ankle cast? Let's just say I gave him a wide berth. I did not get up in his grill. I was not like, I let him shoot because I refused to be crossed over and fall over. Let's see. Fran G, number one, thank you for the donation. As always, folks, if you want to donate, feel free to. I always need your support. Fran G asks, as a Latino person and looking to help the Biden re-election, what swing state should I go to help with the Latino vote? Great question. I think the state with the largest Latino vote and where the Latino vote will probably be as close to decisive as possible is Arizona, swing state. That's going to be very close. Biden won it very narrowly in 2020. It was a Republican state at the presidential level for years and years and years before that. I think it's a state Donald Trump probably needs to win if he wants to win the White House. So I think I would say Arizona would be a place where you could have the most impact. Colorado is potentially competitive, but I think Florida's, I'm trying to think of states that have big Latino populations. Florida and Texas do. I know the Biden campaign has said they're targeting them. Biden lost Florida by 3 and Texas by 6 in 2020. So in theory, they're competitive, but I think Arizona is probably your best bet, folks. If you disagree, throw it in the chat. By the way, I'm taking questions. So if you got questions, throw them in. I like this one from Sam. The one time Iverson practices, he plays against Chris. Amazing. We talking about practice. Not a game. Not a game that I love. Not this game that I die for. We talking about practice. Still one of the greatest rants of all time. Gecko194. Bulwark has become my favorite political channel. Fairly reasonable discussions, light on the kind of hyperbole that is all the rage. Yeah, so I really like the Bulwark too, and they've done great stuff on YouTube. I'm going to try and get on their YouTube a little bit more. One thing that I'm thinking of, and if you guys have suggestions, I continue to look for this. I'm looking for people who might want to have me on as a guest. Like people have big YouTube followings who might want to have me on as a guest. To try to grow my own YouTube following transactionally. So if somebody jumps out, I think that would be wonderful. So just let me know. Chris Moore, Hey, Chris, I really like Senator Chris Murphy. Do you think he has any interest in running for the Democratic nomination in 2028? Chris Murphy is an interesting dude. So he's from my home state, Connecticut. He was a campaign staffer turned House member turned senator. He's really able politically, and I think he's pretty good on policy too. He has been one of the leading voices in the Senate on gun control legislation post Sandy Hook. Could he run for president? I think he could. Yeah, I actually think that's kind of an intriguing name. I don't know that the Senate is the greatest launching pad. Most of the names that I think of for 2028, aside from Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg, who are in the administration right now, most of the Democratic names I think of are governors. So I think of Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. I think of Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania. I think of J.B. Pritzker in Illinois. I think of Gavin Newsom in California. A lot of times those people have more success, governors, chief executives, that it sort of ports over better. But yeah, I can see Chris Murphy. I think he's really intriguing. Thank you. That's a really good question. Rick Muirhead says, smash that like button, peeps. Yes, smash that like button. Spread the word. Let's see. Sam says, thoughts on NBC News hiring Ronna McDaniel? Not surprising. She's the former chair of the RNC. Media organizations need people who are going to represent the Trump viewpoint because Trump is, has a decent chance of getting elected president. Like, I know people don't like it. But again, if you're trying to say we're going to have a conversation about immigration and we want to have, I don't want to call it both sides ism, but we want to have a voice from the left and a voice from the right. Well, the right now is Donald Trump. And I know Ronna McDaniel got run out by Trump, but she's going to largely defend Trump still. So I guess I don't really have a value judgment on it. I don't think it's surprising that NBC News hired Ronna McDaniel. When will we find out who Trump picks as his VP? Gosh, great question. So I am going to do a big Veep Stakes post ranking the 5 people I think most likely to be Trump's VP pick early next week on my political Substack. So what? So if you haven't subscribed, go subscribe. I don't think we're going to find out. The Republican convention is in Milwaukee, I think, this year. And I think it's like July 15th to 18th. I don't think we're going to find out much before then. You almost never do, no matter what they say, like, oh, we're going to pick it early. But they never do. They usually pick it like the few days before because it's a big surprise and it gets them a big burst of attention and energy. I still like Tim Scott for the VP. I still think he makes a ton of sense. I know Marco Rubio is getting attention. Again, I talked about this earlier in the live stream. I don't think it makes a ton of sense. They're not going to give up Florida's electoral college votes. They're, wait. Let's see if this works. Trying to get the celebration. Damn it. Didn't do it right. That doesn't do anything. I don't think you can give up the electoral college votes. I don't think Rubio is going to resign from the Senate and move to some other state. So I think that's ridiculous. I could see Kristi Noem from South Dakota. I could see J.D. Vance from Ohio. I could see Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I don't see Vivek Ramaswamy too focused on his own press and publicity, too much of an attention stealer for Trump. So I think probably in the next it won't happen until early summer at the earliest. I think it'll probably happen in early July, right after July 4th would be my guess. 143 people on the chat on the live stream. Awesome. Keep it up. I like this one from Phil. MTG SMH. Yes. Marjorie Taylor Greene is head shaking at best. I think what's important to remember about Marjorie Taylor Greene is she's the platonic ideal of the modern Republican member of Congress, which is you are not in it to govern. You're not in it to pass legislation. You're not even really in it to serve on committees. You are in it to get attention. You are in it to be on Fox News or Newsmax or whatever other ones are out there. You're in it to raise money for yourself. You're in it to raise your Q rating. You're in it to get famous or infamous. Three Amigos reference. That's what you're in it for. And she's the perfect example of that. Like she wears the red blazer, the say her name shirt, and the Trump MAGA hat to the State of the Union. That's all you need to know, right? Okay. Terry Height says, Speaker Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think that's going to happen. Chunka Dingo says, hope my spring break went well. It was great. It was really fun. Thank you. we only were there for like 3 or 4 days, but it was great. The Greenbrier is lovely. If you've never been there in West Virginia, go there. I'm going to make a video about this. I wrote about it, but I want to make a video. By the way, reminder, I have 2 Substacks now. One is a political one called So What. Check in the chat. You can subscribe. I put it early on in the chat. I also have a new one I launched this week called The Replay, which is specifically about sports. If you have not signed in for that, please do. Let's see. Lost my train of thought. Sorry. Not bad. Not great. Sorry. I'm going through. I like this one. Here to help you out. Got it on mute, though, because the kids are watching cartoons. Love the casual breakdowns. Got it on mute. Great. I think many people say I'm best on mute. Let's see. What is inside a MAGA voter that makes them look at Trump and feel a burning need to see a smart, focused, honest, knowledgeable guy on their side? I actually don't think that's what they're looking for. So I think they think all politicians are corrupt and bad people, and that Trump is no better or worse than any other politician, and that Trump is still an outsider, that he doesn't owe anybody anything. He's not an elite, even though that's ridiculous. He's sticking it to the man somehow. And they like that the media gets up in arms when Trump says things like there's going to be a bloodbath if he's not elected. They like that Democratic elites run around as, oh my God, Donald Trump, dictator, right? They love all that stuff. It's like a troll move. It really is. I think that's what attracts them. They are not drawn to Trump in spite of his obvious character flaws. They are drawn to Trump because of his obvious character flaws. Does that make sense? I like this comment. It just says, Chris Cuomo. Yes, Chris Cuomo and I are friends. We talk occasionally via text, not that often. He's on News Nation now. If you don't watch him, he has a show at, I think it's 9:00 every night on News Nation. He has a podcast. He has a YouTube channel. But I should go on with Chris Cuomo, maybe. Maybe I'll ask him. Maybe that's what you were suggesting. That's a good idea. If so, I'll try to go on with him. Shelley Winters, not that Shelley Winters, said Midas Touch would have you on as a guest. Okay, that'd be cool. Let me try that. I'll reach out to them. If you know them, let me know, but I'll try to reach out to those guys or gals. I don't know. Craig Skeptic, I'd love to hear a dialogue between you and Michael Steele. I really like Michael Steele. He's a good dude. Former RNC chair. Now has his own show on with 2 other people on MSNBC. Randy says David Pakman, The Majority Report, and Midas Touch. Okay, I can do that. That makes sense. Christy Johnson, Sharon McMahon, Sharon Says So podcast. Here's where it gets interesting for the sports history Substack and book tie-in. Okay, I can do that. The Young Turks. Yes, I know Jenk a tiny little bit, so I'm going to reach out to them too. Marilyn says yes for support of Latino vote in Arizona. Ruben Gallego just had a favorable poll versus Kerry Lake. People very disillusioned here with Sinema, and Gallego has a great shot. Yes, I should have mentioned that, by the way. I talked about Arizona and the Latino vote in the presidential race, but yeah, there's obviously Kerry Lake, who is a Trump favorite, who lost the governor's race, even though she didn't concede. Sounds familiar. In 2022, is running for governor in 2020. Is running for the Senate, in 2024. Kyrsten Sinema, who is an independent, used to be a Democrat independent, is not running. The Democratic nominee is Ruben Gallego. So that's going to be a huge race for control of the Senate. So if you do volunteer in Arizona, you get a double whammy. You get the Senate race and the presidential race. Let's see. Who do I see as up-and-coming leaders in the Democratic Party? So I think I don't want to go over more and more names. By the way, we have almost 170 people on this chat. That's the most people we've ever had. Awesome. Thank you. Spread the word. Love to get it. Let's get into the thousands. I don't see why we can't, right? Maybe we can. Okay, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I think the up-and-coming leaders in the party largely are going to be the people who run for president in 2028. So again, that's Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania. He's the governor. Gavin Newsom, governor of California. Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan. J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. Chris Murphy, maybe. I'm trying to think who else is interesting in the House and Senate. Certainly Hakeem Jeffries. the House Minority Leader is someone to sort of keep an eye on, though I feel like he's kind of already risen. Who else do I think is really talented and good? Let me think on that. That might actually make a good video or a good Substack post, right? Like up and coming leaders. So that's a good idea. If a Washington Post journalist like Dan Balls appears on PBS's Washington Week, does he get paid? Not usually. So here's how you know if someone is getting paid. On PBS is a little different, but here, at least on cable, here's how you know if someone is getting paid. If it says, like, for example, with me, if it says Chris Cillizza, MSNBC contributor, that means I'm being paid. If I am a contributor to the network, I'm being paid. It also means I can't go on CNN, I can't go on Fox News, I can't go on any other channels. If it just says Chris Cillizza, so what, Substack, it probably means I'm not being paid and I can go on those other channels. So that contributor thing is what you want to look for. PBS, I don't think pays for people to be on. I've been on a few times and I never got paid. Maybe they shouldn't pay me. Let's see. Nathan Baker, does Bernie Moreno's primary victory in Ohio increase the likelihood that Sherrod Brown will keep his Senate seat? Marginally. So I think Matt Dolan was the more moderate Republican candidate. The primary was on Tuesday. Moreno was the more Trumpy candidate. I think that Dolan might have made it a little more competitive, but I also think, look, Ohio is a state Donald Trump won by 9 points in 2020. It's a state I assume he's going to win by 9-ish points at least again. So that's a lot for Sherrod Brown to overcome, whether it's Bernie Moreno or anyone else. So we'll see. So I would say maybe a little bit, but it's still going to be a really competitive race and a really hard hold for Democrats. Rich Adams, I'm a big Pete Buttigieg fan. Dude is a genius. He speaks 9 languages. That said, does the U.S. electorate allow him to have a real shot, all things considered? Okay, so I assume that means I'm reading between the lines here, but because Pete Buttigieg is gay and married to a man. I don't know. I will admit, and maybe I'm just not enlightened enough, but I will admit I was surprised that the United States elected a black guy named Barack Hussein Obama in 2008. I didn't know that we would do that. Maybe I'm just assuming the worst and I should assume the best. Would we elect a gay man president? I don't know. I'd be interested in what you guys think. I really don't know the answer to that. I'd like to think we could, but I don't know. I think Buttigieg could be the Democratic nominee. I do. Yeah, I think he is really, really naturally talented. I think his biggest problem, and something to keep an eye on, is he needs to break out of being the candidate of just affluent, highly educated white people who live on the coast. That is a part of the Democratic base. It is not the determinative part of the Democratic base. Black voters tend to decide who the nominee is going to be. Happened for Joe Biden in 2020. It happened for Hillary Clinton in 2016. It happened for Barack Obama in 2008. That's how it works. So Buttigieg never during the 2020 campaign, he never demonstrated an ability to appeal to black voters, and he has to figure out a way. Let's see. Phil Sternestek. Sorry, Phil, I never say your name right. Young Turks, more like the Young Jerks. You can use that if you want, Chris. Yes, I see what you did there. Ivan Lerma Huerta says, also, what about Pod Save America? They have a big audience. I do know those guys. I don't know if they have me on, but I do know them. So yeah, maybe I'll reach out to them. Esoteric Jebist. Hey, Chris, do you play any video games? Thoughts on political video games? I keep telling myself I need to get into video games more. I really want to play the new Zelda. It's not new anymore. I did play, something crossing? Animal Crossing? Did play that for a little. My kids have a Switch and an Xbox. My older son only plays FIFA soccer on it, and my younger son only plays Fortnite. They don't use the Switch at all. They only play on the Xbox. But I think maybe I should. Do you think I should? If you have suggestions for games, I'd like to hear it. Hoseru, I'd love to hear a chat between you and Josh Barrow. That would be cool. I love Josh Barrow. He writes the very serious Substack. He's really smart and interesting. Does he have a YouTube? If he does, I'll reach out to him. Matthew Haley, I still like CNN, but I loved your takes when you were on. Me too. I love my takes when I was on too. But such is life. Things happen. Here's some other names for future Democratic leaders. Katie Porter from California, Elizabeth Warren, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I don't know about Katie Porter. I feel like she didn't do a whole hell of a lot in the Democratic primary. She just lost in California to Adam Schiff, or the primary. It wasn't a Democratic primary. I don't know. Like maybe, but definitely AOC. She's young. Definitely has a future. Elizabeth Warren is not young, but maybe she's the future of the party. I don't totally know. Let's see. Matthew Haley, Harris Warren 2028. Could be interesting. On the nerdy side says, I think Elizabeth Warren is more of the same old problem we've had in the last 10 years. You know what? Let's do this real quick. I'm going to say Elizabeth Warren is 69 years old. How old is Elizabeth Warren? 74. Yeah. So by 2028, she's going to be 78. That's older than Joe Biden. So no, I think that's it. Jason Roberts, thoughts on Cory Booker's future? All right, we're going to play this. I want to join a carnival. I always want to do a thing where people just ask me, like, they just say famous people's names or politicians' names, and I just guess their age, and we see how I do. I'm going to say Cory Booker is 54. Oh, nailed it. 54. Yeah, he has a future. Young-ish African-American. Now that I'm 48, I feel like 54 is young. African-American senator. Yeah, I mean, he ran for president in 2020. He was okay as a candidate. I think he'll run again. Let's see. Ooh, Randy T gave me $2 for my next LaCroix. Thank you. Someone gave me $50. Derek Taylor. You rock, Derek. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Derek says this, you should get Professor Alan Lichtman on your radar. He's predicted every presidential election since 1984. He said that Biden is Democrats' best chance to win. He wrote the book on 13 Keys to the White House. Yes. So when I was at the Washington Post and when I was at CNN, I did interview Professor Lichtman. I love his 13 Keys thing, and he's super quirky in the best possible way. I've been thinking about writing about him, but maybe I will have him on. So I could do like a Zoom maybe and just kind of split it down the middle and post it. I'm trying to think of other ideas. Like most of what I've done, obviously, on this YouTube is like the easiest thing for me to do, which is just talk to the camera. But I'm open to other ideas. So yes, Derek, I love Professor Lichtman, and I'm going to look into that. And thank you so much for the donation. Nathan Baker, I would love to see a chat between Chrysalis and Professor Alan Lichtman. Is Alan Lichtman in this chat? Anyway. Let's see. DB says nope to Warren. Yeah, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Phil says Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 are solid games set in the dying west of the United States. Okay. Again, I need to do the Zelda game. I love Zelda. I love Legend of Zelda as a kid. So the new-ish Zelda game intrigues me. So maybe I'll do that. All right. I only got a couple minutes. David Porter said, first time I made it to a live with the British flag. David, thank you for coming. Love your country. Think you're going to win the Euros. Moscow Mitch. How old is Mitch McConnell? DB asks. I'm going to say Mitch McConnell is 81. Mitch McConnell age. 82. I'm telling you, this is gold. Just me guessing people's names. 82. Sam says, have you thought of doing YouTube stunts with Mr. Beast or boxing Jake Paul? Yeah, that sure would be. I'm sure that they need me. Those guys need me to be involved. Yeah. Christine Laporte says Rep. Jared Moskowitz is a star. Yeah, he is interesting. Young, member of Congress. Yeah, I'll sure. I'll say he could be a star. I always am skeptical about House members, to be honest, but yes. Let's see. A couple other up-and-comers. Ro Khanna from California, agree. Maryland Governor Wes Moore, yes, absolutely. That is definitely true. I think Wes Moore is going to run for president and is really, really talented and will do a really good job. Okay, let me look at the time. Okay, it's almost 1:30. I got to go. All right, so that's all I got. We had the most people we have ever had on this live stream. There are 172 of you right now taking time at 1 p.m. Eastern time in the Eastern time zone to spend some time with us. Okay, so at the end of this chat, I'm going to put the link to my politics newsletter, which is called So What. It comes out multiple times a day. Please subscribe if you can. If you can pay to subscribe, even better. I just launched a sports only Substack where I'm writing about sports every single day called The Replay. I'm going to put a link to that. Again, if you want to subscribe for free, great. If you want to subscribe and pay, even better. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's free. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Spread the word. Like my videos. Send me a note. Cilizzac, Cillizzac. I'll put this in the chat too. Cilizzac@gmail.com. If you have ideas of who I should do shows with, if you have ways to YouTube with, if you have ways to reach them, if you have ideas on how to grow this, if you have other formats, other things you want me to see me interview someone, put all that stuff in the chat and I will monitor it and check it out. This is going to be archived. So if you did miss it live, thank you for watching it anyway. And remember, right here, the world needs journalists, people. All right, take care of yourselves. All right, let me put these things in the chat, and then I'm going to sign off. All right, so this is Chris. Hold on. Politics. You get to watch this. This is the end. This is behind the curtain. Politics newsletter. Substack.com. I spelled my name wrong again. Okay. Sports newsletter. I spelled newsletter wrong. Don't worry about that. Nothing to see here. Sports newsletter. That's The Replay at substack.com. That's that. And then I'm going to put my email address. Email me at cilizzac@gmail.com. That comes right to me. cilizzac@fmail.com is what I type. That's not a thing. Okay, that's all we got. Have a great weekend. I'm going to try and make some videos next week. Spread the word. Peace.